Dark Souls or Demon Souls? The fuck? Oh, this is looking Square Enixy.
You all know the target. Shiva's dominant. And only the dominant.
How do we even know the girl will be among them?
Our kind do not question orders. We follow them.
Fuck yeah.
Sergeant, let's summon their icon. Icon? That thing's a bloody mountain.
Shiva's looking fucking good.
Our foe will not relinquish their mother crystal easily. This will be a bitter fight.
You should not be out of doors. We have discussed this.
I'm loving we're getting
Your father will be expecting.
more of an Evilise feel.
I am Joshua's shield. I'm sworn to protect him.
And we're getting obviously more medieval Final Fantasy this time too.
What do you mean you refuse?
Some 15 vibes too.
Pledge your sword to our cause.
What does it matter? It was the Dalmex who drove back the Crusaders in the Battle of the Twin Realms, was it not?
Without the blessing of the Mother Crystal, we cannot defend our realm from the spread of the Blight.
Oh, fucking sweet.
So they sent in the Dragoons. Imperial Vipers. Do they really mean to invade us?
What badass. So is this one person or party system? Oh, fuck. Liking the grit.
It's the Archduke's son. Phoenix.
Stop this!
Second icon of fire. But that's impossible.
You free? Yeah.
The legacy of the crystals. Has shaped our history.
You can tell this is done by the 14 team.
For long enough. I'll kill you. If it's the last thing I do.
Oh, goosebumps there. Yeah, Final Fantasy 16. How the fuck is it going to play? It's looking like it's a single player action experience. I'm going to be analyzing the shit out of that trailer. For the Final Fantasy XVI trailer, there's a lot to like. You know, there's a lot in that trailer that I did enjoy. I am very happy it is in the confident hands of the third business division, obviously, you know, responsible for Final Fantasy XIV and turning that game around. And Final Fantasy XIV is the best Final Fantasy since 12, in my honest opinion. So, you know, it's in good hands. I'm really happy about that. And we're able to discern quite a bit from this trailer. So the big thing that we can notice right away is this is a medieval Final Fantasy game again. You know, a lot of the last few games, you know, like 15 and 13, you know, they were very high sci-fi. This is going, you know, the very medieval route, which I am all for. And to go along hand in hand with that is, it seems like we're going to have a very, you know, politically driven Final Fantasy. It seems like there's different factions in this trailer, and obviously we're going to be dealing with them. Obviously there's open conflict going on, there's war happening. And, there's obviously, an empire, given, what happens in this trailer. The Dragoon is referred to as an Imperial Viper. So we know there's an evil empire. And let's face it, it's not going to be a fucking Final Fantasy if there's not an evil empire in it. So, I'm really happy about that. I'm glad they're going back to the medieval setting for Final Fantasy because, that's where it all began. And to go hand in hand with, medieval war, potential imperial invasion, we have icons, the game's name for summons. So summons are back, and they, typically in Final Fantasy games, a lot of the time summons play a big part in the story as well. They're just not a magical ability. So, we have icons in this game. We have Shiva, Titan, Ifrit, Phoenix that we've seen in the trailer. Shiva looks particularly good in my opinion. But apparently, it's a big deal that 2 of these summons are fire elemental based, and it's such a big deal that Ifrit and Phoenix are the main art for the Final Fantasy XVI logo. So obviously that's going to be a big thing in this story, summoning icons, using them for battle, obviously, and obviously probably the politics surrounding them. I'm guessing it's probably going to be something like, countries, each have their own specific icons or something like that. And another big thing we can discern from this trailer is this is going to be a bloody Final Fantasy. We see one guy, what seems like him being decapitated in the trailer. Joshua there, the little guy being covered in his blood. So I can't remember the last time I saw a lot of blood in a Final Fantasy. If ever, like off the top of my head, I got nothing. So we're getting a bloody medieval Final Fantasy, given what we've seen in the trailer so far. And not only is it bloody and, rife with politics, but there's some type of plague going on as well, and they're relying on the crystals for protection, apparently. And, one of the main taglines for this game is, breaking free of the crystals, essentially. It sounds like society at large is quite reliant on them, or at least, held under the crystal's sway. So obviously that's going to be a theme in these games, is breaking free from, the power of the crystals, and humanity probably, starting to lay forth its own destiny rather than that the crystal sets out for it, is kind of what I'm getting from the dialogue and everything we've seen in this trailer so far. And so, all that looks promising. Setting looks promising. I love the grit to it. Love the look of the politics. Graphically, it looks amazing. The one thing that does concern me a tiny bit with this is it looks like it's a single player experience so far. So we have the main character who's Joshua's bodyguard. And obviously it looks like we're dealing with a bit of a time skip because we obviously see a younger version of him and an older version of him, with a tattoo. It looks like he could be some type of slave soldier, given what some of the dialogue that's being said and maybe just his overall circumstance when we see he's older. But no, it very much is looking like a single player experience so far, and it could very well be a very good game, just having, the one playable character. But, having played all the other Final Fantasies, being an old school fan, I do love having a party in Final Fantasy games. I really do. I love, the interaction between various party members and, getting to know everybody and using different people in combat, like obviously Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's a very action-based battle system, but we have a party still. So it looks like this game is very much going the Final Fantasy XV route in terms of combat from what I can see. And we don't see any other party members kicking around so far yet. But I mean, that is to be determined, but that's very much what it's looking like at this point. And as it says here, Naoki Yoshida, obviously well known for making Final Fantasy XIV the game it is today and the success that it is only a producer, but that obviously means that he is going to hold sway over this game to, a significant degree, and he's going to have input. And then we obviously have what seems like a new director for the Final Fantasy series single-player games anyway. So Hiroshi Takai, who only has experience with Final Fantasy XI and Final Fantasy XIV. But that's okay with me because both those games are, very revered and very loved within the franchise, even though they are online games. I played 11 for a little bit. It was a little too hardcore for me, but, I am still playing Final Fantasy XIV, and that game is getting better and better with every expansion. So no, I'm looking forward to seeing what this guy can do, and obviously we're getting more information about this game in 2021. So no, having said all that, looks incredibly promising. Definitely will be covering this some more because this type of Final Fantasy is right up my alley. You know, it's not the boy band that was 15. You know, I know 15 does have its fans, but it just wasn't able to quite capture me so much, whereas this looks a bit promising from a story perspective. So anyway, that's it for now, everybody. Thank you for joining me for this reaction and, discussion / trailer analysis. I'll see you later on your next game break, guys. Take it easy.